is a company founded about 10 years ago. We're focused on optimizing big data workloads. We traditionally started off in the classic Hadoop space, and we sort of broadened our footprint now to the cloud and to Kubernetes.
Very cool. And then for KubeCon 2021, since we are here, have you had any big announcements, some new exciting things that y'all have come up?
We didn't announce anything.
Yeah.
I came here mostly to look, learn, and absorb, and it's been fantastic.
Very cool. And then for the developers out there today that want to look at your tool from Pepperdata, what are some of the cool things that they can take advantage of with it?
So first, obviously, go to our site.
Okay.
And I think you'll see a bunch of stuff. Not so much in Kubernetes, but certainly on EMR. You can actually download into your own clusters and actually use our solution. And the whole idea here is much better price performance. And the ability to debug hard problems. We're taking what we did in the cloud in EMR and actually now moving it over to Kubernetes as well.
And observability is really big now. Teams basically want to deploy faster, but if they don't have the visibility, then things can go wrong.
Correct. So I think we solve two things. One is not just the observability. Observability by itself allows you to sort of isolate and debug individual problems. We're focused on performance-related problems, not just correctness. And so when you have clusters that are running many jobs, you can't debug one at a time, or you can't performance tune one at a time. So we have a solution that actually looks at the entire workload and optimizes everything simultaneously in real time.
That is very cool. And then working with your customers today in the space, what are some of the trends that you're seeing this year? So maybe the challenges and opportunities.
So we're seeing a huge number of people basically doing Spark on Kubernetes. That seems to be the big trend for all the big data folks. So some of the old big data technologies are sort of being left behind, and it really is becoming Spark Kubernetes as a solution for most of the large enterprises that we see.
Nice. And then if you have to look into a crystal ball, what are some of the trends for next year in 2022 that you're excited about, or maybe something that you think is kind of under the radar that everyone will be talking about?
We're early in the market for the Spark and Kubernetes side, so it's still sort of early adopters. I think next year we're going to see much more production workloads going in place. And so the exciting thing for me is that the market is sort of at the cusp of being able to take off with real heavy-duty workloads. I think that's going to start probably second half of next year and then just accelerate after that. Very
cool. And is this your first KubeCon that you've been to?
This is the second KubeCon I've been to.
And what has been like some of your favorite moments, or what do you really enjoy about KubeCon?
Well, the last KubeCon was up in Seattle that I went to, and that was when the last election took place, and I watched the results of the election come in. So that's quite a difference between then and now.
I can imagine.
The other part is obviously because of COVID, a lot fewer people here. But I'm really impressed by, the fact that people, the organizers were able to pull it together, the virtual sessions and everything else. And it's very well organized. The other observation would be that, in that day, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, KubeCon was very early. Kubernetes was very early. It's really nice to see sort of more mature solutions coming to market now, it being taken much more seriously. And it feels certainly like it's the solution that's going to be sort of the multi-cloud on-premise solution that's going to be the de facto winner, which is great to watch.
Very cool. And then just sort of to wrap it up, anything else? Are you on Twitter? Where can people go to learn more about Pepperdata?
So Pepperdata is on Twitter.
You're not.
I try to avoid social media as much as I can.
Nice.
Because there's lots of downfalls, and unfortunately I tend to open my mouth more than I should. So it's better not to have a permanent record.
Very cool. And anything else like exciting coming up with Pepperdata events you're going to be at, or anything?
Yeah, so I think you're going to see much more from us in the whole Kubernetes space.
Okay.
We're going to go beyond just big data in the Kubernetes space. I think you'll see a much more broad-based push into optimizing workloads across a spectrum of different types, and that should be the exciting thing for the next year for us.
All right. Well, thanks so much. This is Ash from Pepperdata. Be sure to go check out their website. They're on Twitter. You can go and follow them for all the cool news information. You saw some of the stuff that they're going to be upcoming. So, Ash, it was really great to have you on.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.